I caught him with his tongue down her throat at the restaurant where he proposed. Our 3-year anniversary. 52 people watching through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Milano's, the most expensive Italian restaurant in the city, the place where Marcus had gotten down on one knee 2 years ago and promised me forever. I didn't scream, didn't throw my wine in his face like they do in the movies, didn't cause a scene. I just stood there for what felt like an eternity but was probably only 10 seconds. 10 seconds watching the man I'd built my life around kiss his secretary, the one he'd sworn was just helping with paperwork when she texted him at midnight, the one he'd promised me I was being paranoid about. She saw me first. Her eyes went wide over his shoulder and she pulled back. That's when Marcus turned around. And you know what he said? Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "I can explain." He said, "Elena, this isn't what it looks like. 3 years, 1,000 promises, a shared apartment, a dog we'd adopted together, a life we'd carefully constructed." And his first instinct was to lie to my face while her lipstick was still on his mouth. So I left. Walked out of that restaurant with my head high, feeling 52 pairs of eyes burning into my back. I made it to my car before the shaking started, before the tears came, before the rage took over. And that's when I did something stupid. Or maybe it was the smartest thing I'd ever done. I still haven't decided. I grabbed my phone and typed out the cruelest message I could think of. Every piece of hurt and betrayal and 3 years of lies condensed into 3 sentences. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hit the right letters. "We're done. Enjoy your secretary. Hope she was worth losing me. Don't ever contact me again. Elena." I hit send before I could second-guess myself, before I could be the understanding girlfriend one more time, before I could let him explain away another lie. The message delivered. 1 check mark, then 2. Read receipt on. 3 dots appeared almost immediately. Of course he'd respond fast. Of course he'd have excuses ready. He always did. But the message that came back, it wasn't what I expected. "Wrong number, beautiful. But whoever he is, he's an idiot. And if you need someone to help you forget him, my door is open. L." I stared at my phone for a full minute. Wrong number. I'd sent my breakup text to a complete stranger. 1 digit off from Marcus's number, 1 single digit. And I'd dumped my entire emotional breakdown into some random person's messages. I should have apologized. Should have explained the mistake and blocked the number. Should have handled it like a rational adult. Instead, I typed back, "Who is this?" The response came within seconds. "Someone who doesn't cheat on women like you. Where are you? I'll send a car." A car. This stranger, this person I'd never met, never spoken to, knew absolutely nothing about, was offering to send a car to pick me up. Every true crime podcast I'd ever listened to started screaming warnings in my head. Every safety lesson my mother had drilled into me said to delete the number and drive home. But something about those words, "women like you," made me pause. Like he'd seen something in my angry text message. Like he understood. And maybe it was the wine I'd had at dinner before everything imploded. Maybe it was the image of Marcus and his secretary burned into my brain. Maybe it was 3 years of playing it safe and being the good girlfriend and getting cheated on anyway. Maybe I was just done being careful. I sent him my location. I watched the little pin drop on the map, showing exactly where I was sitting in the Milano's parking lot, showing a complete stranger how to find me. My thumb hovered over the unsend button for about 5 seconds before I forced myself to put the phone down. "What are you doing, Elena?" My brain was screaming at me. "This is insane. This is dangerous. This is how people end up on the news." But my heart, my broken, betrayed, furious heart, was saying something different. It was saying that 3 years of being safe and sensible had gotten me cheated on in front of 52 witnesses. Maybe it was time to try something different. His response was immediate. "Stay where you are. 10 minutes. 10 minutes. I had 10 minutes to change my mind. to start my car and drive home to the apartment I shared with Marcus, to call my best friend Jasmine and cry on her couch like a normal person going through a breakup. Instead, I fixed my makeup in the rearview mirror, wiped away the mascara tracks, reapplied my lipstick. If I was going to make a potentially fatal decision, I was going to look good doing it. 8 minutes later, a car pulled into the parking lot. But this wasn't an Uber. This wasn't some guy's Honda Civic. This was a black Maserati with tinted windows so dark I couldn't see inside. The kind of car that cost more than I made in 2 years. The driver's side door opened, and a man stepped out. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a suit that probably cost more than my rent. He looked like he'd stepped out of a movie about expensive bodyguards. He walked around the car with purpose and opened the back passenger door, standing beside it like he was waiting for royalty. He was waiting for me. Every survival instinct I had was screaming, "Run. Start your car. Drive away." This is how horror stories begin. But I'd already made my choice when I sent that location pin. I grabbed my purse, stepped out of my car, and walked toward the Maserati on legs that felt steadier than they should have. The driver nodded once, professional, silent, and gestured to the open door. I slid into the back seat, and the door closed behind me with that solid, expensive sound that only luxury cars make. The leather was butter soft. The interior smelled like cedar and something spicy I couldn't identify. Classical music played softly through speakers I couldn't see. The driver returned to his seat, and we pulled out of the parking lot without a single word exchanged. I realized I hadn't asked where we were going, hadn't asked who Elle was, hadn't asked anything at all. "Where are we going?" I finally managed, my voice sounding too loud in the quiet car. The driver's eyes met mine in the rearview mirror. "Mr. Russo doesn't discuss business in public, miss." Mr. Russo. So Elle had a last name, and apparently he had drivers who called him Mr. Russo and drove Maseratis and spoke about him like he was someone important, someone powerful. I should have demanded to be let out, should have caused a scene, should have called Jasmine and told her I was potentially being kidnapped by a stranger with expensive taste in cars. Instead, I sat back against the leather seat and watched the city lights blur past the tinted windows. We drove for maybe 15 minutes, heading into the financial district where the buildings got taller and the rent got astronomical. The driver pulled up to an unmarked building, black marble facade, no sign, just a single door with a man in a suit standing guard. The guard opened my door before the driver could. "Miss Carter," he said, like he'd been expecting me, like my name had been given to him in advance. "Mr. Russo is waiting." How did he know my name? I hadn't given it to anyone. The only thing I'd sent was my location and a few text messages. But somehow, in 10 minutes, this mysterious Mr. Russo had found out my full name. I should have been terrified. Instead, I was intrigued. The guard led me inside, through a lobby that screamed money, all marble and gold accents and modern art that probably cost more than my student loans. But we didn't stop at the lobby. He led me to an elevator with no buttons, just a keycard scanner. He swiped his card, the doors opened, and we went down. Down. Not up to a penthouse like I'd expected. Down into what felt like a secret. The elevator opened into a space that took my breath away. It was a speakeasy, one of those exclusive clubs you only hear about in whispers. Low lighting, vintage leather booths, a bar that stretched the entire length of one wall, jazz music played from somewhere I couldn't see. And every single person in that room turned to look at me when I stepped out of the elevator. They looked at me like I was important, like I was someone, or maybe like I was the woman who'd come for him. "This way, Miss Carter." The guard led me through the club, past tables of people in expensive suits and designer dresses, past waiters carrying cocktails that probably cost $50 each, past a dance floor where a few couples swayed to the music, to a VIP section in the back, separated from the rest of the club by frosted glass panels. and that's where I saw him. Lorenzo Russo sat in a booth that curved along the back wall, backlit by subtle lighting that made him look like something out of a dream. Or a nightmare. I hadn't decided which yet. Dark hair swept back from his face, sharp cheekbones that could cut glass. A jaw that looked like it had been carved from marble. He wore a black suit with no tie, the top 2 buttons of his shirt undone, revealing a hint of olive skin and what looked like the edge of a tattoo. But it was his eyes that stopped me cold. Dark, intense, and focused entirely on me with the kind of attention that made me feel like I was the only person in the world. He stood as I approached, old-fashioned courtesy from a man who looked like he'd never followed anyone else's rules in his life. He was tall, easily 6'2", with the kind of build that suggested either serious gym time or a physically demanding life. Maybe both. "Elena Carter," he said, and his voice was exactly what I'd imagined from his text messages. Deep, confident, with an Italian accent that made my name sound like poetry. "You're even more beautiful than I imagined." "You imagined me?" The question came out before I could stop it. "From the moment I read your text." He gestured to the booth, and I found myself sliding in before consciously deciding to. He sat across from me, close enough that I could smell his cologne, expensive, masculine, intoxicating. The anger, the pain, the strength it takes to walk away. I wanted to meet the woman who could feel that deeply. "You figured out my name pretty quickly." His smile was slight, dangerous. "I have resources. You sent me your location, and I wanted to make sure you were safe, that you were real, that you weren't someone trying to approach me through unconventional means." "Approach you? Are you someone people try to approach?" "Frequently. Usually for the wrong reasons." A waiter appeared with 2 glasses of whiskey without either of us ordering. Lorenzo nodded his thanks, and the waiter disappeared. "But your text was genuine, raw, real. That's rare in my world." "What world is that?" "We'll get to that." He lifted his glass. "First, tell me about him. The man who was stupid enough to cheat on you." And just like that, I was talking. Telling this complete stranger about 3 years with Marcus, about the promises and the lies and catching him with his secretary at our anniversary dinner, about feeling like an idiot for not seeing the signs, about wasting 3 years on someone who clearly never valued me the way I valued him. Lorenzo listened, really listened, not the way Marcus used to listen, with half his attention on his phone and the other half thinking about work. Lorenzo focused on me with an intensity that should have been uncomfortable but somehow wasn't. He asked questions that showed he was actually processing what I said, made observations that proved he understood. "He didn't deserve you," Lorenzo said when I finally ran out of words. "Men like him never do. They find something precious, and they don't know how to value it until it's gone. Then they spend the rest of their lives regretting it." "You sound like you speak from experience." "Observation, mostly. I've seen it happen countless times. Good women wasted on mediocre men who don't appreciate what they have." His eyes held mine. "But you're not going to be one of those women who goes back to him. Are you, Elena?" It wasn't really a question. It was a statement. Like he could see into my soul and knew I'd already made that decision in the parking lot before I'd even sent that first text. "No," I said firmly. "I'm done. I'm done being the understanding girlfriend. Done making excuses. Done being treated like I'm not enough when I've been more than enough this whole time." "Good." He lifted his glass again. "To being done with people who don't deserve us." I clinked my glass against his and took a sip. The whiskey was smooth, expensive, the kind of thing Marcus would have ordered to impress clients but never actually enjoyed. I let it warm my throat, my chest, my confidence. "So, tell me about you," I said, emboldened by the whiskey and the way Lorenzo was looking at me. Who is Lorenzo Russo, besides someone who sends Maseratis to pick up strangers? I'm a businessman. I own several legitimate enterprises in the city. Real estate, restaurants, import companies, boring corporate things that fund the lifestyle. That's a very careful answer. His smile widened slightly. You're observant. And you're evasive. Also observant. He leaned forward, and suddenly the space between us felt charged, electric. What if I told you that some questions are better left unasked, at least for tonight? Tonight is about you forgetting him, feeling beautiful and valued and appreciated. The complicated details of my life can wait. You're definitely hiding something. Everyone hides something, Elena. The question is whether it matters. His hand moved across the table, not quite touching mine, but close enough that I could feel the heat. Does it matter to you who I am? Or does it matter more how I make you feel? He was right. Sitting here in this exclusive club with this devastatingly attractive man who was looking at me like I was the most fascinating person he'd ever met, I felt alive, desired, important, everything I hadn't felt with Marcus in years. How did you find out my name? I asked instead of answering his question. Your location led me to your car. Your car registration led me to your name. I like to know who I'm inviting into my space. He said it so casually, like having the resources to track someone down in 10 minutes was completely normal. I needed to make sure you were safe, that you weren't in danger, that bringing you here wouldn't put you at risk. At risk from what? From my world. He finally let his fingers brush mine, just the lightest touch, but it sent electricity up my arm. I'm not like other men you've met, Elena. My life is complicated, sometimes dangerous, and I don't bring people into it lightly. But something about your text, about your strength, about you. I had to meet you. Had to know if you were as interesting as I suspected. And am I? You're more interesting than I imagined. His thumb traced across my knuckles. Brave enough to get into a stranger's car. Smart enough to be cautious but not paranoid. Beautiful enough to make every man in this room jealous that you're sitting with me, and strong enough to walk away from someone who didn't deserve you. Yes, Elena, you're exactly as interesting as I hoped. I should have been terrified by how much he'd learned about me in 10 minutes. Should have been running for the exit. Should have been calling the police or Jasmine or someone with common sense. Instead, I turned my hand over and laced my fingers through his. We talked for 3 hours, about everything and nothing, about my work as a graphic designer and his businesses that he described in frustratingly vague terms, about growing up in the city versus growing up in Sicily, which is where his family was originally from, about music and art and places we'd traveled, about dreams we'd had as children and realities we'd faced as adults. He was charming without being smarmy, interested without being invasive, funny without trying too hard. And underneath it all, there was this edge of danger, this sense that Lorenzo Russo was not a man to be trifled with, that underneath the expensive suit and cultured conversation was something darker, something powerful. Something that should have scared me but instead made me lean closer. At one point, a man approached our booth, another suit, nervous energy, and whispered something in Lorenzo's ear. Lorenzo's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes went cold, hard. "Handle it," he said quietly. "I'm not to be disturbed again tonight." The man disappeared, and Lorenzo's attention returned to me like nothing had happened. But I'd seen that flash of something dangerous, that glimpse of whoever Lorenzo really was beneath the charm. "Business?" I asked carefully. "Nothing that can't wait." His smile returned. "Tonight is about you, remember? About helping you forget your ex-boyfriend's name." I already forgot it. "Good." He glanced at his watch, a Patek Philippe that probably cost more than a car. "It's past midnight. You must be exhausted." "Let me take you home." "You don't have to." "I insist. Besides, I need to make sure you get home safely. Can't have you driving upset and distracted. He was right. I'd completely forgotten about my car still sitting in Milano's parking lot. Lorenzo made a phone call in rapid Italian, and within minutes we were being escorted back to the elevator. But instead of the Maserati, there was now a different car waiting, a sleek black Mercedes with even darker tinted windows. Lorenzo opened the door for me himself this time. Your car will be delivered to your address tomorrow morning. Detailed, full tank of gas parked in your assigned spot. How do you know where I live? Registration, remember? That dangerous smile again. I pay attention, Elena. The drive to my apartment should have felt ominous. This powerful stranger who'd somehow learned everything about me in a few hours, driving me home in the middle of the night. But instead, it felt safe, protected, like nothing bad could happen as long as I was with Lorenzo Russo. We pulled up to my building, a modest complex in a decent neighborhood, nothing compared to the luxury Lorenzo clearly lived in. He walked me to my door like a gentleman, his hand resting lightly on my lower back. Thank you, I said when we reached my apartment. For tonight, for the distraction, for making me feel valued. You are valued, Elena. Never forget that. He reached up and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear in a gesture that felt intimate without being presumptuous. Can I see you again? Tomorrow? Tomorrow? That's fast. I don't believe in wasting time when I know what I want. His eyes searched mine. And I want to see you again. Take you to dinner somewhere beautiful. Continue getting to know the fascinating woman who accidentally sent me a text meant for someone else. Unless you need time to process tonight. I should have said yes. Should have asked for space. Should have been sensible. Tomorrow sounds perfect. His smile was genuine, warm. I'll text you details. Sleep well, Elena. And if your ex tries to contact you, he won't. I'm blocking his number right now. Good. He doesn't deserve even that much of your attention. Lorenzo leaned in, and for a moment I thought he might kiss me. Instead, he pressed his lips to my forehead, a gesture that was somehow more intimate than a real kiss would have been. Sweet dreams, beautiful. Tomorrow, we'll make sure you forget he ever existed. I watched him walk back to his car, watched the Mercedes pull away, and only then did I unlock my door and step inside the apartment I'd shared with Marcus for 2 years. His stuff was everywhere. His jacket on the back of the couch, his shoes by the door, his coffee mug still in the sink from this morning. This morning, when I'd thought we were fine. When I'd believed his lies about working late and helping his secretary with projects. When I'd been stupid enough to think 3 years meant something. My phone buzzed. A text from Lorenzo. You're home safe. Good. Sleep well. Tomorrow, we start the process of making you forget he ever existed. L. And then another buzz. Marcus. Elena, please. We need to talk. Let me explain. It's not what you think. I love you. Please answer. I stared at Marcus's message for a long moment. 3 years of my life summed up in desperate texts. 3 years of promises that turned out to be lies. I blocked his number without responding. Then I looked at Lorenzo's message again. A man I'd known for 4 hours who'd already shown me more consideration and respect than Marcus had in 3 years. I fell asleep that night with my phone next to my pillow, Lorenzo's message saved, and for the first time since catching Marcus with his secretary, I didn't cry myself to sleep. The next 4 days were a blur of text messages and unexpected moments that made me feel alive in ways I'd forgotten were possible. Lorenzo texted me good morning before my alarm went off, not with anything demanding or possessive, just, "Good morning, beautiful. Hope you slept well." Coffee order? I told him my usual, vanilla latte with an extra shot, and 45 minutes later, there was a knock at my door. A delivery person handed me not just my coffee, but also a bag from the bakery 3 blocks away that made the best croissants in the city. The note attached said, "Breakfast is important. See you tonight. L." Our second date was dinner at a restaurant I'd been trying to get reservations at for months. the kind of place that was booked solid 6 months in advance. But when I arrived, Lorenzo was already there, sitting at the best table in the house, with a view of the city lights that took my breath away. "How did you get a reservation here?" I asked as I sat down. "I know the owner." That became his standard response to everything. How did he get tickets to the sold-out show? He knew someone. How did he arrange for a private tour of the art museum after hours? He knew someone. How did every door in the city seem to open for him? He knew everyone. We talked for hours that night. He asked about my design work, seemed genuinely interested in the projects I was working on, offered to introduce me to people who might need my services, told me stories about growing up in Sicily that were both funny and gave me glimpses into a childhood very different from mine. "My family is traditional," he said carefully when I asked about his parents. "Very traditional Italian values. Strong sense of loyalty, family first, respect earned through actions, not words. They're good people, but they expect a lot from their children." "Are you close with them?" "My mother, very. My father passed away 5 years ago." Heart attack. Something flickered across his face. Grief, maybe, or something darker. He was a complicated man, but I loved him, and I've spent the last 5 years trying to honor his legacy while building my own. "What kind of legacy?" He smiled, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. "That's a third date conversation, I think." There was that evasiveness again, that careful dancing around the details of his life. But I was starting to realize that Lorenzo Russo lived in a world of secrets. And maybe I was okay with that. Maybe not knowing everything made it easier to enjoy the fantasy of being with him. On day 3, he sent a car to pick me up for lunch. His driver, the same silent professional from that first night. We met at a cafe in the park, casual and public, and spent 2 hours just walking and talking like normal people on a normal date. Except we weren't normal. Lorenzo moved through the world like he owned it. People noticed him, stepped aside for him, showed him respect that went beyond basic courtesy. It was subtle, but it was there. This undercurrent of power and influence that followed him everywhere. "You're staring," he said with amusement as we walked past a fountain. "I'm trying to figure you out." "And?" "You're either very important or very dangerous, maybe both." He stopped walking, turned to face me fully. "Would it change things if I was? If I told you that my life isn't simple, that my business isn't just boring corporate work, that being with me could complicate your nice normal life? My nice normal life got me cheated on by a man I trusted for 3 years. Maybe complicated is better." Something in his expression shifted, warmed. "You're not like other women I've met." "Is that a good thing?" "It's a fascinating thing." He reached out and took my hand, the gesture becoming natural between us. "Most women, when they learn what I really am, they either run scared or they try to use it. Use me. But you're curious, but not demanding. Cautious, but not afraid. Interested in me, not in what I can give you. That's rare, Elena. Precious." "What are you really, Lorenzo?" He was quiet for a long moment, looking at me like he was making a decision. "Let's sit down. I think it's time I was honest with you." We found a bench overlooking the lake. Lorenzo kept hold of my hand, his thumb tracing patterns on my palm like he needed the contact to say what came next. "My family has been in this city for 4 generations, he began. "We came from Sicily with nothing and built an empire. Restaurants, real estate, import businesses, all legitimate on paper, all successful, all profitable. But the foundation of that empire, the connections that made it possible, those weren't always legal." My heart was pounding, but I kept my voice steady. "Are you telling me you're in the mafia?" "I'm telling you my family has traditional connections, relationships with organizations that operate outside conventional law. My father was deeply involved in that world. He built our legitimate businesses as a front, but he never fully left the old ways behind." Lorenzo's grip on my hand tightened slightly. When he died, I inherited everything. The businesses, the connections, the responsibilities, and the complicated position of maintaining relationships with people who expect certain loyalties. So, you're in organized crime. I run legitimate businesses that benefit from illegitimate connections. He turned to look at me, his expression serious. I don't personally engage in criminal activity, Elena. I'm not out there breaking laws or hurting people, but I know people who do. I maintain relationships with families that operate in that world, and when they need something from the legitimate side, money laundered through legal businesses, favors that require legal cover, introductions to people in power, I facilitate that. Does that make me complicit? Probably. Does it make me a criminal? Legally, no. Morally, that's debatable. I should have pulled my hand away. Should have thanked him for his honesty and walked away from this man who was admitting to being involved with organized crime. Should have protected myself from whatever complications came with being associated with someone like him. Instead, I asked, "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because you deserve honesty. Because I can see this going somewhere, and I won't lie to you about who I am." His dark eyes searched mine. "Because if you're going to walk away, I'd rather it be now, before I get more attached than I already am." "You're attached?" "Elena, I've thought about you every moment since you sent that text. I've rearranged my schedule to see you. I've shared things with you that I don't share with anyone. Yes, I'm attached. Probably more than is wise after 4 days. So if knowing the truth about my life is going to send you running, I need to know now." I looked at this man who'd been nothing but kind and respectful and honest with me. This man who'd shown me more consideration in 4 days than Marcus had in 3 years. This man who was powerful and dangerous and offering me a choice. "I'm not running," I heard myself say. "Elena, I'm not running," I repeated more firmly. "Look, I'm not naive. I know being involved with you could be complicated, could be dangerous, could bring problems into my life that I've never had to deal with before. But Lorenzo, you've been honest with me. You've treated me better in 4 days than most men have treated me in years. And maybe I'm being reckless or stupid, but I want to see where this goes." The smile that spread across his face was pure relief and joy. "You're sure?" "I'm sure, but I need you to promise me something." "Anything." "Keep being honest with me. If your world gets dangerous, if being with you puts me at risk, you tell me. You don't hide it or try to protect me from the truth. I need honesty, Lorenzo. That's non-negotiable." "Deal." He pulled me closer, his arm around my shoulders. "Complete honesty. Always. Even when the truth is complicated." We sat there by the lake for another hour, and Lorenzo told me more about his world, about the families he maintained relationships with, about the careful balance he walked between legitimate business and illegitimate connections, about the constant navigation of a world where loyalty was everything and betrayal meant death. It should have terrified me. Instead, it helped me understand him, understand the careful way he spoke, the way people treated him, the resources he had at his disposal. Lorenzo Russo wasn't just a wealthy businessman. He was someone with power in a world most people didn't even know existed. And for some reason, he'd chosen to share that world with me. That night, he walked me to my door again. "Thank you," he said softly, "for not running, for giving this a chance, for trusting me enough to hear the truth. Thank you for telling me the truth." He kissed my forehead again, that gesture that was becoming his trademark. "Get some sleep. Tomorrow, let's do something normal. Just you and me, no complicated world, no heavy conversations, just a date." I'd like that. But the next day, normal became impossible. I woke up on day 5 to 17 missed calls from Marcus and 12 text messages that became progressively more desperate. Elena, please answer. We need to talk. I made a mistake. It meant nothing. She means nothing. You're the one I love. Please, just let me explain. I'd blocked his number after that first night, but apparently he'd gotten a new phone. Or borrowed someone else's. Or found some way around the block because men like Marcus always found ways around boundaries when they wanted to. I showed the messages to Jasmine over coffee that morning. She'd been surprisingly supportive about Lorenzo despite my concerns that she'd think I was insane for dating someone with mob connections. Block this number too, she said firmly. Marcus had 3 years to appreciate you. He doesn't get to have a crisis of conscience now that you've moved on. He doesn't know I've moved on. Then maybe it's time he found out. She grinned. Post something on Instagram. You looking happy. Maybe with a mysterious hand in the frame. Make him wonder. I laughed, but I didn't post anything. Something about flaunting Lorenzo felt wrong. Like our connection was too private, too intense to be reduced to social media performance. But that evening, when I left work, Marcus was waiting by my car. Elena, he looked terrible. Unshaven, rumpled clothes, dark circles under his eyes. Please, just give me 5 minutes. No. I kept walking toward my car, keys already in hand. Elena, please, I'm begging you. He followed me, and suddenly I was very aware that we were alone in the parking garage. I made a mistake, the biggest mistake of my life, but it's over. I ended it. I told her we're done. I want you back. You should have thought about that before you kissed her in front of 52 people. I know I hurt you. But baby, we can fix this. 3 years together, that has to mean something. We can go to counseling, There is no we anymore, Marcus. I reached my car, but he blocked the door. Move. Not until you hear me out. I said move. Elena. My phone was already out, already texting Lorenzo. Marcus is here. My office parking garage. He won't leave me alone. The response was immediate. Address. Now. I sent my location, and Lorenzo replied, 10 minutes. Stay on the phone with me. Who are you texting? Marcus tried to see my phone, and I pulled it away. Are you seeing someone? Already? It's been less than a week, Elena. And you were seeing someone for 6 months while we were together. So I don't want to hear it. That's different. Move. Now. Or I'm calling the police. For what? Trying to talk to my girlfriend? Ex-girlfriend. And it's called harassment. He finally stepped aside, and I got into my car, locking the doors immediately. Marcus stood there, staring at me through the window with this desperate, pathetic expression that should have made me feel guilty but just made me angry. I started my car and drove out of the garage with him watching. My phone rang. Lorenzo. Are you safe? His voice was tight, controlled. Yes, I'm driving. He didn't hurt me, just wouldn't leave me alone. Where are you going? Home, I guess? No. Come to me. I'll text you the address. I want to make sure you're safe. Lorenzo, I'm fine. Humor me, Elena. Let me see for myself that you're okay. Please. The please did it. I agreed, and he sent me an address in the most expensive part of the city, a high-rise building with a doorman who seemed to be expecting me. Miss Carter, Mr. Russo is expecting you. Penthouse level. Of course, Lorenzo lived in the penthouse. The elevator required a key card to access the top floor. The doorman handed me one with a smile. You'll need this, miss. Mr. Russo said to give you access. The elevator opened directly into Lorenzo's apartment. Not a hallway with multiple units, but straight into his private space. And it was stunning. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the entire city. Modern furniture that looked like art. A kitchen that belonged in a magazine. Everything sleek and expensive and perfectly curated. Lorenzo was standing by the windows, phone pressed to his ear, speaking rapid Italian. He looked different here in his own space. More relaxed, his jacket removed, sleeves rolled up, revealing the tattoos I'd glimpsed before. When he saw me, He ended his call immediately. "Elena." He crossed to me in 3 strides, his hands framing my face, eyes searching mine. "Are you okay? Did he touch you?" "I'm fine. He just wanted to talk. I told him no and he wouldn't move, so I texted you." "You did the right thing." His jaw was tight with barely controlled anger. "Give me his information." "What? Why?" "His full name, where he works, where he lives. I'm going to make sure he understands that bothering you again would be a very bad idea." "Lorenzo, you don't need to—" "Yes, I do." His hands slid down to my shoulders. "Elena, listen to me. I told you my world is complicated. Part of that complication is that I protect what's mine. And whether you're ready to hear this or not, you're mine now. Which means anyone who threatens you, scares you, or makes you uncomfortable answers to me. So give me his information and I'll handle it." "Handle it how? Do you really want to know the details?" I thought about it. About Marcus's desperate face in the parking garage. About 3 years of lies and betrayal. About how good it felt to have someone ready to protect me. "Make him leave me alone," I said finally. "Whatever it takes to make him understand I'm done. But Lorenzo, don't do anything that could blow back on you. I'm not worth you taking legal risks." His expression softened. "You're worth every risk, beautiful. But I promise, nothing I do will have legal consequences. I'm very good at making problems disappear without leaving evidence." That should have scared me. Instead, it made me feel safe. I gave him Marcus's information, full name, office address, the apartment we'd shared until 5 days ago. Lorenzo made a call, spoke in Italian for about 3 minutes, then hung up. "It's handled. He won't bother you again." "What did you do?" "I made some calls. By tomorrow morning, Marcus will have been encouraged to reconsider his approach to you. Strongly encouraged. But nothing illegal, nothing violent. Just persuasive conversation from people he'd be wise to listen to. Your people. People who owe me favors." He pulled me toward the couch, sitting and pulling me down next to him. "Now, tell me about your day before your ex ruined it." We spent the rest of the evening talking, and Lorenzo ordered dinner from somewhere that delivered food that looked like art. We ate on his balcony, watching the sun set over the city, and it felt natural, easy, like we'd been doing this for years instead of days. "Can I ask you something?" I said as we finished dinner. "Always." "Why me? You could have anyone. You're successful, powerful, gorgeous. You probably have women throwing themselves at you constantly. So why did you respond to a random breakup text? Why go to all this effort for someone you'd never met?" Lorenzo was quiet for a moment, looking out at the city. "You want the honest answer?" "Always." "Because your text was real, raw, genuine. In my world, everything is calculated. Every conversation is a negotiation. Every relationship has ulterior motives. People want things from me. Money, power, connections, protection. But your text? You weren't trying to get anything from me. You were just a woman in pain, being honest about that pain, and something about that honesty called to me." He turned to look at me, and the intensity in his eyes made my breath catch. "And then I met you," he continued. "And you were brave enough to get in my car, smart enough to be cautious, but not afraid. Beautiful in a way that made me forget every other woman I'd ever met. You asked hard questions. You didn't run when I told you the truth about my life. You treated me like a person, not a means to an end. So why you, Elena? Because you're everything I didn't know I was looking for." I kissed him then, leaned across the space between us and pressed my lips to his before I could overthink it. And Lorenzo kissed me back with an intensity that made the world disappear. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing hard. "Stay tonight," he said softly. "Not for anything except staying. I have a guest room if you want space, but I want you here, where I know you're safe, where Marcus can't show up and bother you, Please, Elena. I should have said no. Should have maintained boundaries. Should have been sensible. Okay, I whispered. I'll stay. I woke up the next morning in Lorenzo's guest room, which was nicer than my entire apartment, to the smell of coffee and something baking. I found him in the kitchen, actually cooking breakfast, wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt that made him look more human and somehow even more attractive. Morning, beautiful. He handed me a cup of coffee, made exactly how I liked it. Sleep well? Better than I have in days. Your guest room is incredible. Good, because I'd like you to stay again tonight, and maybe tomorrow night, and maybe just stay until we're sure Marcus has gotten the message. Lorenzo, I can't just move in. Why not? He plated what turned out to be homemade omelets. You'd be safe here, comfortable. I have more space than I need. And selfishly, I'd get to see you every morning and every evening, instead of just when we can coordinate schedules. That's moving very fast. We've established I don't believe in wasting time. He set a plate in front of me. But I'm not pressuring you. Stay as long as you're comfortable. Leave whenever you want. The guest room is yours for as long as you need it. I stayed that night, and the next. By day 4 of temporarily staying at Lorenzo's penthouse, I'd brought over enough clothes and work supplies that I'd basically moved in without officially moving in. Marcus tried calling twice more, but his calls came from blocked numbers that I didn't answer. Then they stopped entirely. Whatever Lorenzo had done, it worked. Work on day 9 was when I found out exactly how far Lorenzo's influence reached. My boss called me into her office with an expression I couldn't read. Elena, I have something to discuss with you. We've been approached by Russo Enterprises with a very lucrative contract. They want to completely rebrand their restaurant division, and they specifically requested you as the lead designer. My stomach dropped. Russo Enterprises? Yes. Apparently their CEO was impressed with your portfolio and wants you to handle this personally. It's a 6-month contract that would pay more than your annual salary. But there's a catch. They want you to work on site at their main office. Full-time, dedicated to this project. Which means we'd need to basically loan you to them for 6 months. Lorenzo. This was Lorenzo pulling strings. That evening I confronted him about it. Did you offer my company a contract just to get me to work with you? He didn't even try to deny it. I offered your company a legitimate contract because my restaurants need rebranding and I've seen your work. It's exceptional, Elena. You're talented. I wanted to give you an opportunity to showcase that talent on a high-profile project. The fact that it means we'd see each other during the day is just a bonus. That's not how it works, Lorenzo. I can't accept opportunities just because I'm sleeping with... I stopped. We haven't actually slept together. No, he agreed. And we won't until you're ready. This isn't about sex, Elena. This is about me recognizing your talent and wanting to invest in it. If you don't want the contract, turn it down. I won't be offended. But don't turn it down because you think it's charity or because you're worried about mixing business and personal. It's a legitimate offer based on legitimate talent. He had a point. And honestly, the contract was incredible. The kind of opportunity designers dreamed about. I'll think about it, I said finally. That's all I ask. He pulled me close. But Elena, stop overthinking everything. Stop waiting for the catch. I'm not Marcus. I'm not going to use you or betray you or take advantage of you. I'm just a man who's falling for you and wants to find ways to be around you more. Is that so terrible? Falling for me? Completely. Irrevocably. Probably faster than is healthy. His hand cupped my face. I know it's only been a week. I know this is insane. But I can't help how I feel. You've become the best part of my day, Elena. The person I think about constantly. The only thing that makes the complicated parts of my life worthwhile. So yes, I'm falling for you. Actually, I think I've already fallen. Lorenzo, you don't have to say it back. I'm not asking you to. I just needed you to know where I stand. But the words were already forming and I realized they were true. I'm falling for you, too. This whole week has felt like a dream, like I'm living someone else's life, someone braver and more interesting than I've ever been, and it terrifies me how much I care about you already. But I do. I care about you so much it scares me. His kiss was tender, thorough, filled with promises neither of us spoke out loud. And that night, I didn't sleep in the guest room. I fell asleep in Lorenzo's arms, in his bed, feeling safer and more cherished than I'd ever felt in my life. The next morning, Marcus made one more mistake. I was leaving Lorenzo's building to head to work when I saw him. He was sitting in a car across the street watching the entrance. When he saw me, he got out. "Elena, I need to talk to you." "Stay away from me, Marcus. Please, just 5 minutes. I deserve 5 minutes after 3 years." "You don't deserve anything from me." He grabbed my arm as I tried to walk past, and that was the mistake. Because Lorenzo's driver was already pulling up, and the moment he saw Marcus touch me, he was out of the car. "Remove your hand," the driver said calmly. "Now." Marcus looked at the driver, who was approximately the size of a small mountain, and wisely let go. "Who is this guy, Elena? Your new boyfriend's bodyguard?" "Someone who understands boundaries better than you." I got into the car, and the driver closed the door behind me. Through the window, I saw him say something to Marcus. Whatever it was made Marcus's face go white. He backed away, hands up, and practically ran to his own car. "What did you tell him?" I asked as we pulled away. "That if he came near you again, the consequences would be severe, and that Mr. Russo doesn't make empty threats." The driver's eyes met mine in the rearview mirror. "He won't bother you again, Miss Carter." He was right. That was the last time I saw Marcus. Later, Jasmine told me he'd quit his job and moved to Seattle. Just packed up and left within a week. Part of me felt guilty, like I'd somehow ruined his life by involving Lorenzo. But Lorenzo reminded me, he ruined his own life when he cheated on you. He made choices that had consequences. All I did was make sure those consequences included understanding that you're under my protection now. That's not cruel, Elena. That's just making sure he respects boundaries he should have respected from the beginning. By day 14, I'd officially moved into Lorenzo's penthouse. We'd had a conversation about it, about me maintaining my independence, keeping my own identity, not losing myself in the relationship. Lorenzo had been incredibly understanding. "This is your home now," he'd said, "but it's your space too. Decorate however you want. Change whatever makes you comfortable. Work on your designs. See your friends. I'm not trying to trap you or control you, Elena. I'm just trying to build a life with you." A life with him. After 2 weeks, it should have been terrifying. Instead, it felt like coming home. The first real threat came on day 15. I was walking back from lunch with Jasmine. We'd been trying to maintain our weekly tradition despite my new living situation, when I noticed a car following us. Black sedan, tinted windows, staying exactly 2 car lengths behind, no matter how we turned. Elena?" Jasmine had noticed too. "That car has been behind us for 10 minutes. I see it. Should we be worried?" "Yes," I thought. But out loud I said, "Let's go somewhere public. The coffee shop on 5th. We headed toward the busy coffee shop, and the car continued following. My phone was already out. Texting Lorenzo. "Being followed. Black sedan, tinted windows, near 5th and Madison." His response was immediate. "Get inside somewhere public, now. Don't go anywhere alone. I'm sending people." Jasmine and I practically ran into the coffee shop. Through the window, I watched the black sedan pull up across the street and park. Just sit there, watching. "Elena, what's going on?" Jasmine's voice was shaking. "Why would someone follow us?" "I don't know." But I had suspicions. Being with Lorenzo meant being visible to his world. And apparently someone in that world was interested in me. 10 minutes later, 2 SUVs pulled up. Lorenzo's people. They surrounded the black sedan, and whatever conversation happened resulted in the sedan speeding away. One of Lorenzo's men came into the coffee shop. "Miss Carter, Mr. Russo sent us to escort you home. Are you ready?" "Jasmine needs a ride, too." "Of course. This way, ladies." They drove us both in the armored SUV, which I tried not to think about too hard, and dropped Jasmine at her apartment first. "Call me later," she said, hugging me tight. "And Elena, be careful. I know you care about him, but this is getting dangerous. I know." Lorenzo was waiting when I arrived at the penthouse, pacing like a caged animal. The moment I walked in, he pulled me into his arms. "Are you okay? Did they approach you? Did they say anything?" "No, just followed us. They left when your people showed up." "Fuck!" He pulled back, hands framing my face. "I'm so sorry, Elena. This is my fault. They targeted you because of me." "Who are they?" He was quiet for a long moment, then sighed. "Come sit down. I need to tell you something." We sat on his couch, and Lorenzo explained that there were multiple families in the city with interests that sometimes aligned and sometimes conflicted with his. Recently, he'd made a business decision that had upset one particular family, the Marchettis. "They control drug distribution in the southern districts," he said. "I refused to let them use my restaurants for their laundering operations. It would have made my businesses targets for federal investigation, and I won't risk that." So I said no. They didn't like that answer. "So they're coming after you through me. They're sending a message, showing me they know about you, that you're not protected, that if I don't reconsider my position, you could be leverage." His jaw clenched. "I won't let that happen, Elena. I'm putting security on you full time. You'll have a driver everywhere you go, bodyguards when you're out. I'm installing better security here in the building." "Lorenzo, this is insane. This is necessary." His voice was firm. "Until I handle the Marchettis, until they understand that coming after you means starting a war they can't win, you need protection. And I know you value your independence, and I respect that. But I'm asking you to let me protect you. Please, Elena. I can't lose you." The fear in his voice, genuine, raw fear, made the decision for me. "Okay. Security, bodyguards, whatever you think is necessary. But Lorenzo, you need to handle this quickly. I can't live like this long term. I won't be a prisoner in a gilded cage." "I know, and I will handle it. I promise you, within a week, the Marchetti problem will be resolved." That night, Lorenzo held me close, and I could feel the tension in his body. The next morning, he was gone before I woke up, leaving only a note. "Business to handle. Stay inside today. I love you. L. I love you." He'd written it so casually, like it was a fact rather than a confession. Like loving me was as natural as breathing. I texted back, "Be safe. I love you too." Over the next 6 days, I learned what it meant to live under protection. I had a driver, Antonio, a gentle giant who was always polite but always alert. I had 2 bodyguards who accompanied me anywhere outside the penthouse. I couldn't go to work without security, couldn't meet Jasmine for coffee without armed escorts. It should have felt suffocating, and sometimes it did, but mostly it felt necessary, because twice more during that week we spotted cars following me. Once, someone tried to approach me in the parking garage before my bodyguards intercepted. The threats were real and escalating. Lorenzo came home each night later and later, with tension in his shoulders and blood on his knuckles more than once. He wouldn't tell me details, just that he was handling it, that the Marchettis were being dealt with, that soon this would all be over. On day 20, everything came to a head. Lorenzo came home at 3 a.m, and I woke to hear him in the shower, water running for a long time. When he finally came to bed, his knuckles were raw, and there was a bruise forming on his jaw. "What happened?" I whispered in the darkness. "It's handled. The Marchettis won't be a problem anymore. What does handled mean? He was quiet for so long I thought he wouldn't answer. Then, it means I had a conversation with Don Marchetti. Made it very clear that touching you, following you, even thinking about you meant war with the Russo family. And I backed up that threat with enough show of force that he understood I wasn't bluffing. You fought them. I protected what's mine. His arms tightened around me, and I'd do it again. I'd do worse than what I did tonight if it meant keeping you safe. You need to understand that about me, Elena. My love isn't gentle. It's possessive and protective, and I will destroy anyone who threatens you. That's who I am. That's what being with me means. I should have been horrified. Should have been questioning my choices. Should have been planning my escape from this violent world. Instead, I whispered, I understand, and I love you anyway. His kiss was desperate, claiming, filled with all the fear he'd been holding on to for days. And that night, we crossed the final line we'd been dancing around since the beginning. Made love with an intensity that spoke of how close we'd come to losing each other before we'd even really begun. The next morning, Lorenzo had a question. Marry me. I thought I'd misheard. What? Marry me, Elena. He was completely serious, pulling a ring box from his nightstand like he'd been waiting for the right moment. I know it's fast. I know we've only known each other 3 weeks. But I also know that I want you in my life forever. I know that making you officially mine in every way possible is the only way to truly protect you. And I know that I love you more than I've ever loved anyone. So marry me. Not someday. Soon. Let me make you mine in every way that matters. The ring was stunning. A blood-red diamond set in platinum, antique and clearly expensive and meaningful. This ring has been in my family for 6 generations, Lorenzo said softly. It's given to the woman who becomes La Signora, the wife of the head of the family. My great-great-great-grandmother wore this. My mother wanted me to have it when I found the right woman. And Elena, you're her. You're the one. So please, say yes. Marry me. Lorenzo, this is insane. We've known each other 3 weeks. I knew I'd marry you the night you sent that text. The rest was just formality. But if you need more time, ask me again. He blinked. What? Ask me again. Properly. Like you mean it. A slow smile spread across his face. He got out of bed, completely naked and completely unself-conscious, and actually got down on one knee beside the bed. Elena Carter, will you marry me? Will you be my wife, my partner, my everything? Will you let me spend the rest of my life protecting you and loving you and showing you every day that choosing me was the right choice? Say yes, beautiful. Please say yes. I should have asked for time. Should have been sensible, should have thought about the implications and the complications and the danger. Instead, I said, yes, yes, I'll marry you. He slipped the ring onto my finger and it fit perfectly. Of course it did. Lorenzo probably had my ring size investigated weeks ago. How soon is soon? I asked as he climbed back into bed and pulled me close. Courthouse. End of the week. Unless you want something bigger? No. Small and soon is perfect. Just us and witnesses. Just us and forever. He kissed me, and I tasted promise and protection and possession in equal measure. You're mine now, Elena. Completely. Forever. Yours, I agreed. Completely. The next 8 days were a blur of preparation and deepening danger. Lorenzo insisted we keep the engagement quiet, not a secret, but not public. Until we're married, you're still vulnerable, he explained. Once you're my wife, touching you means declaring war on the Russo family. Right now, you're my girlfriend. That carries protection, but not the same weight. Once you're La Signora, you're untouchable. Jasmine was the only person I told, and her reaction was exactly what I expected. Married? Elena? You've known him less than a month. I know. You're rushing into this. I know. This is insane. I know. I laughed despite the absurdity. I know it's fast and crazy and probably a terrible idea, but Jasmine, I love him. I love him in a way I've never loved anyone. And yes, part of this is practical. Being his wife protects me in ways being his girlfriend doesn't. But mostly, it's because I want this. I want him. I want the life we're building together. She studied me for a long moment, then sighed. You're glowing, and happy, and more yourself than I've seen you in years. So, okay, I support this insanity, but I'm standing beside you at that courthouse, and if he ever hurts you, I know people who know people. You know people? I've been researching, watching YouTube videos about organized crime. I'm prepared. She grinned. Now show me that ring because I know it's gorgeous. The ring was gorgeous, and heavy with meaning. I caught Lorenzo looking at it on my finger multiple times with an expression I couldn't quite read. Possession, yes, but also relief. Like making this official couldn't come fast enough for him. On day 25, there was another incident. I was at work. I'd accepted the Russo Enterprises contract, working out of their main office now, when one of Lorenzo's men found me. Miss Carter, we need to move you, now. What's wrong? Marchetti Associates were spotted near the building. Mr. Russo wants you secured. They moved me through back corridors I didn't know existed, into a car and straight to Lorenzo's office. He was on the phone when I arrived, speaking harsh Italian, his expression darker than I'd ever seen it. When he saw me, he ended the call immediately. You're okay? I'm fine. They didn't get near me. They got close enough. He pulled me into his arms, and I felt him shaking slightly. This needs to end. I can't do this anymore, Elena. Can't spend every moment worrying someone's going to hurt you to get to me. So, what do we do? I'm meeting with Don Marchetti tonight. Final conversation. Either he backs off completely or this becomes a war. And if it becomes a war, I'll win. But I'd rather not start a war the week before my wedding. Let me come with you. Absolutely not. Lorenzo? No. His voice was firm. You stay here, where it's safe, where my people can protect you. I'm not bringing you into the middle of a confrontation with a man who's already proven he sees you as leverage. Please, Elena, stay here. Let me handle this. I wanted to argue, wanted to insist I could help, but the fear in his eyes stopped me. Be careful, I said instead. Come back to me. Always. He kissed me, long and deep and desperate. I love you, and in 5 days you'll be my wife, and no one will ever threaten you again. I promise you that. He left, taking half his security team with him. The other half stayed with me, turning Lorenzo's office into a fortress. I spent 4 hours there, working on designs, but mostly worrying, before Lorenzo finally returned. He looked exhausted, but victorious, and there was blood on his shirt. Is that yours? I rushed to him. No, but before you ask, I didn't kill anyone. Just made a very persuasive argument about why continuing to harass you was bad for the Marchetti family's health. He pulled me close. It's over, Elena. Really over. Marchetti agreed to leave you alone. Leave us alone. He understands that you're under Russo protection now, and soon you'll be family. He won't risk war over bruised pride. What did you do? What I had to. He kissed my forehead. But it's done. You're safe. We're safe. And in 5 days we're getting married and leaving all this drama behind. Leaving? Honeymoon. 2 weeks in Sicily. Private villa, just us, no business, no threats, no complications. Just you and me and the life we're starting together. Sound good? Sounds perfect. The next 4 days passed in a strange calm. No more threats, no more cars following me, No more incidents. Lorenzo had apparently made his point effectively enough that the Marchettis had genuinely backed off. Jasmine and I went dress shopping, just us, plus my security team lurking nearby. I found a simple white dress that was elegant without being ostentatious. This wasn't a fairy tale wedding. It was a courthouse ceremony that happened to be changing my entire life. "You're really doing this," Jasmine said as we left the boutique, my dress in hand. "I'm really doing this." Any regrets? I thought about it. About Marcus and the life I'd planned. About the safe, boring path I'd been on. About the moment I'd sent that breakup text to the wrong number and everything had changed. "No," I said honestly. "No regrets. This is exactly where I'm supposed to be." On day 30, the morning of the wedding, Lorenzo was uncharacteristically nervous. "What if you change your mind?" he asked as we got ready in separate rooms. Tradition, even in a courthouse wedding. "I'm not changing my mind." "What if you realize this is all too much? Too fast? Too complicated?" "Lorenzo," I kissed him firmly, "I'm not changing my mind. I'm yours. You're mine. In a few hours, that becomes official. Stop worrying." The courthouse ceremony was simple and perfect. Just me and Lorenzo, Jasmine as my witness, and Lorenzo's cousin Marco as his. The judge was probably used to quick weddings, but even she seemed moved by the way Lorenzo looked at me when we said our vows. "Do you, Lorenzo Russo, take Elena Carter to be your lawfully wedded wife?" "I do. I'll always do." "And do you, Elena Carter, take Lorenzo Russo to be your lawfully wedded husband?" "I do." "Then by the power vested in me by the state, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss." Lorenzo didn't wait for permission. He kissed me like he'd been holding back for 30 days and could finally claim me properly. When we finally broke apart, both of us were grinning like fools. "Mrs. Russo," he murmured against my lips. "Finally." Outside the courthouse, there were more security than I expected. Lorenzo explained quickly. "We're going straight to the airport. Can't risk staying in the city when word gets out we're married. The next 2 weeks we disappear. Let everyone adjust to the new reality while we're safely out of reach." The private plane was waiting. We said goodbye to Jasmine and Marco, and within an hour we were in the air, heading to Sicily, and 2 weeks of whatever honeymoon looked like for a mafia-adjacent couple. As the city disappeared behind us, Lorenzo pulled me close. "Any regrets yet?" he asked, echoing Jasmine's question. "Not even one." I held up my hand, showing both the blood diamond engagement ring and the simple platinum wedding band he'd slipped on my finger at the courthouse. "Best wrong number I ever sent. Best wrong number I ever received." He kissed me softly. "I love you, Mrs. Russo." "I love you too, Mr. Russo. My accidental husband. My wrong number turned exactly right." They asked me if I regret it. If I'd choose differently if I could go back to that parking lot outside Milano's, phone in hand, about to send a breakup text to the wrong number. I tell them no. Every single time, I tell them no. Because that wrong number saved my life in ways I never expected. It gave me a love most people only read about in books. It showed me what it means to be truly valued, truly protected, truly cherished. Yes, it's complicated. Yes, Lorenzo's world is dangerous and sometimes scary. Yes. There are moments when I wonder what my life would have been like if I'd sent that text to the right number instead. But then Lorenzo comes home, like he's doing right now, walking onto the terrace of our Sicilian villa where I'm working on design projects for 3 new clients I acquired through my own merit, not just his connections, and all those doubts disappear. "How's my wife?" he asks, kissing my shoulder. "Busy, successful, happy." "Good." He settles into the chair beside me, looking out at the Mediterranean sunset. "Dinner's ready when you are. I even cooked this time." "You cooked?" "Well, I supervised the chef very closely. That counts as cooking." I laugh, saving my work and turning to face him. 1 year of marriage. 1 year of learning to navigate his complicated world. 1 year of being La Signora and everything that title entails. It hasn't always been easy. There have been moments of danger, of fear, of wondering if I made the right choice. There have been nights when Lorenzo came home with blood on his hands and secrets in his eyes. There have been complications I never imagined when I agreed to marry a man with ties to organized crime. But there have also been mornings waking up next to him, afternoons working on projects I love, evenings like this, watching sunsets over the ocean, a love that's fierce and protective and absolutely unconditional, a partner who would burn the world down to keep me safe. "What are you thinking about?" Lorenzo asks, taking my hand and bringing it to his lips. "About wrong numbers, about fate, about how one typo changed my entire life. Best typo in history." He pulls me close, though I prefer to think of it as destiny. "You were meant to find me, Elena. That text was always going to reach me. We were always going to be here." Maybe he's right. Maybe it wasn't an accident at all. Maybe the universe knew exactly what it was doing when my finger hit the wrong number that night. "Come inside, Mrs. Russo," Lorenzo says, standing and pulling me to my feet. "Let me show you again exactly how happy I am you sent that text." "Again?" "We have dinner waiting." "Dinner can wait. My wife can't." I let him pull me inside, into the villa we call home, into the life we've built together. A life that started with anger and betrayal and a text sent to the wrong number. The best wrong number I ever sent. The only wrong number that was exactly right.